Former Democratic presidential nominee Seth Moulton just took a trip. He was one of those two people unauthorized to go into Afghanistan yesterday with Republican Representative Meyer. Seth Moulton, that high-profile name in Democrats, is saying there's no way we're going to get everybody out. We just simply will leave Americans behind. I mean, there's not just a little bit of headwind against the President of the United States. It's a wall.
Oh, there's a lot. Look, adding to that list, you're right to mention Seth Moulton. Also, Adam Schiff. Adam Schiff's saying that it's unlikely. Adam Smith, also a Democrat, saying it's very, very unlikely. Kevin McCarthy, no possible way. Brad Sherman, a Democrat, saying you're not going to get everybody out. And this is just the handful of people acknowledging reality. Unfortunately, our president will not. It is so shameful that on Friday, he looked into the camera and made this commitment, quote, "We will get you home," to Americans. He went even further and said to our Afghan allies, quote, "We're making the same commitment." That was Friday. Here we are this week, and that commitment has gone by the wayside. There's no transparency here. Meantime, as you watch the Pentagon briefing, they have a detailed percentage list of the members of our military who are vaccinated, point by point, branch by branch, but they still cannot tell us the number of Americans caught in Afghanistan. It is just stunning communications catastrophe all the way across from the Pentagon to the State Department, right on down to the White House.
So, Morgan, I want to drill down on that just a bit, because when people leave the country, they have to flash their passports. Everything's digitalized now. How in the world can we not know which Americans are over there in Afghanistan? I mean, it's not like it's a tourist destination in a pandemic and people trying to sneak to get there.
Yeah, so we've got a couple different issues going on, Harris. Number one, you would think in the months leading up to this withdrawal, since the president announced it in April, that we would have started pulling those lists together and getting that information together. One of the things that the State Department relies on around the world is something called SAFE, this system where people are supposed to register with the U.S. Embassy so that they know they're there, they know they're present. So you've got one problem in that this should have been done ahead of time. And then the next problem, we'll see what Secretary Blinken says in the next hour whenever he's supposed to go to the podium, if they've been able to get that number to us. But an important point, Harris, this is not the first time that we have had to evacuate Americans out of a crisis. Last year, during COVID, when the world shut down and commercial airliners shut down, Mike Pompeo and his State Department, we had to evacuate and repatriate almost 100,000 Americans from around the world.
Yes.
This was a huge logistical feat. So it's important to note that the State Department can do this. There is the capabilities, but they have to have the right political leadership in place. Secretary Pompeo empowered our undersecretary, who's essentially like the COO of the State Department, to get this done. And he put people directly reporting to him who would be accountable for getting 100,000 Americans home. To me, the question is, why has Secretary Blinken still not done that? Where is the point of failure at the State Department? Who's responsible? Is anyone in this entire administration going to be held accountable for this debacle? I don't think they're going to fire anybody. Well, they just hope in the next few weeks we'll quit looking at it.
If Secretary Blinken starts to take questions, that things stay tougher on him than they did in that previous Pentagon briefing that we got out of by like the 6th question on the same thing, and we had been given all of those details. I mean, Jen Griffin was trying for Fox News. Others in the room were trying. But they just simply, their goal today, it seemed, with Kirby and the Major General, just don't make any headlines. just keep this line tight right now. It's a very military thing to do, by the way. Having grown up military, I've seen hold the line. I want to get to this, Ari, before I come to you. We had 2 Republican congressmen on last hour. One was the first Green Beret elected to Congress, Mike Waltz from the state of Florida, and also the chairman, the ranking member of the House Foreign Affairs, Mike McCall of Texas. Here they are now.
Now with the president deciding that August 31st is the date where the military is going to be completely out. I always say there's going to be blood on his hands. People are going to die as a result of this decision.
We are on the cusp, Harris, of having the biggest mass hostage situation in American history. It's going to make 1979 in Tehran look like a sleepover, because you're going to have thousands of Americans left behind that the Taliban will then have for leverage, when they want international recognition, they want money, they want economic assistance, and they've got a gun to the head of American citizens because Joe Biden left them.
And I just want to say this, Ari, too, about Congressman Walz. He did some time as an elite beret special forces officer in Afghanistan. So he knows the lay of the land. He knows the Taliban. Your reaction to some of what you just heard? All right, we're having some technical issues with Ari Fleischer's microphone. Did I just hear him again?
Can you hear me now?
Okay, go ahead. Ari, I just wanted to get your reaction. I apologize for having to come to you again to get you to repeat yourself, but your words are too important to skip. So we heard from the congressman and your reaction.
What I was saying is, I've heard criticism of presidents often in my life. But what's so different now is when you listen to the tone of their voice, whether it's a Democrat or a Republican, but especially a veteran, it is so ardent because they're so scared of things that can go wrong because this is so perilous. And what you're criticizing Joe Biden for is, one, his judgment, and two, the accuracy of his words. And here's Biden's core problem, Harris. Last week, he came before the American people and said that Americans were not having difficulty getting to the airport, when of course they were. He said there's no al-Qaeda in Afghanistan, when of course there is. He said he wasn't being criticized by foreign leaders, when he was. And now this week he says we're on track to get everybody out, after having said that all Americans will be brought out and all the Afghans who want to be brought out too. Can we rely on Joe Biden when he doesn't know what's going on? This is why people have this edge to them. This is why this is so perilous, because it appears that the President of the United States is not in connection with events on the ground and is just speaking and wearing rosy-colored glasses at a time when we need realism. That's why I think you hear this fear, and obviously all you have to do is turn on the TV and you realize how perilous it is for the people trying to get to the airport.
Well, and it is fear, too, because some of what they've told us, Ari, isn't, and this started with the president, then it's spread to, you know, the Pentagon, then Jen Psaki in the White House press briefing room, and it's these words: for every American who wants to come home, we will get you home. If you can't get to that airport, how are you going to read a woman or a man's heart? You don't know what they want. You can't even get them to the airport. I mean, it's so disingenuous. It's like it's talking to us as though we're stupid. And at least we're in a safe space, right? We're in a studio somewhere. They're hearing these same disingenuous words. It must feel like hate to them a world away. Go ahead, Ari.
Well, and we're focused on Kabul, where everything you said is valid. But what about Mazar Sharif? What about Kandahar? What about the other cities where there could be Americans? It's not as if everybody's just in the one place where there happens to be an airport. But that feeds into something else, where Jen Psaki yesterday was bragging that this is going to be the largest evacuation in our history. Well, that's because it's been the largest abandonment of people in our history. The only reason we have to evacuate people is because we abandoned them, and we went down this path that Joe Biden selected to withdraw the military first. The proper way to do it is for people to have caught commercial flights over the last several months and there'd be nobody left to evacuate. It should be the smallest evacuation in history if it was done well. It's only going to be a significant evacuation because it was done so poorly.
Did you see that video just then, Emily, of the people standing outside the gates in the of the airport? Did you see that? It's so hard to watch. That's pure sewage that people were standing in. It's the shot just before this one. They're standing in sewage. They're doing whatever it takes to get in. And I had a former Army Ranger interpreter on with me just a few minutes before Outnumbered started. He's worried so much about his family. He got out, but he's got to get them out now. Can you imagine standing in that, trying to get out? You're getting sick just trying to save your life, because Lord knows what's in that water.
This is tragedy upon tragedy, Harris. And I think the worst part for me as an ordinary American is the notion that this was in some way preventable. The notion that if there was some modicum of actual leadership from our commander-in-chief, actual transparency, if there was an ability to listen to the multitudes of plans submitted to him all across the government by veterans, by the State Department, by the Department of Defense, and more, that there would be a more seamless transition, a better extraction than the absolute surrender and abandonment we have seen up until now. And I'd like to hear more from Morgan on this, because Morgan, I think you touched on such a valuable point, which is that in the refusal to delegate any type of responsibility or power, that is why everything is sort of bunching at the top. We're hearing from all aspects throughout the government, and again with ordinary Americans, saying we have a chartered flight, we have everything available, but we're missing a permit to land, for example. We're hearing from Congressman Gallagher saying, why do we keep surrendering our power to the executive branch? We have more power than standing at a microphone. Let's pass legislation and get these Americans and allies and animals home. So Morgan, what is your insight, if any, into that, what we're seeing, that bunching at the top, resulting in, I think, inevitably loss of life?
Well, just quickly, I think whenever you have a lot of people in charge, you have no one in charge. So one of the things that Congress will need to get to the bottom of is, where is the point of failure at the State Department? Why weren't these civ applications being processed? What happened between April and August? I think that's going to be the crucial question. At the State Department under Mike Pompeo, he made sure that people were appointed to positions and they were in charge and they were held accountable by him if they weren't delivering. Trust me, I've been in the room when he's had to hold people accountable.
Yeah, I just have one question. Is someone lying to us about what's happening on the ground and who's making the decision to do so? Because if the president can honestly say and mean that he doesn't know about the dangers on the ground outside that airport and how deadly it's going to be when our American military pulls out, if they're not telling him, that's one thing. But if they're not telling him so that we aren't told, that's tacitly a lie. And we can't accept that.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.